in the vast majority of cases going to be a positive influence on that, as in it's increasing the efficiency, which means that you need fewer fertilizer inputs to get the same or better outcome or yield. So usually the way that you can increase in efficiency is to reduce losses. So you could be, in a lot of cases, you could be more profitable by not chasing the highest yield, just putting on a lower rate and accepting what you get. And usually there's a spot where the amount that you're spending versus the amount that you give back hits a sweet spot, and you're probably going to get a lower overall yield, but you'll be more profitable. This is something different to that. So the amount of fertilizer that you put on, or that an agronomist will recommend to put on, usually accounts for inefficiencies, for losses in some way, shape, or form. So with nitrogen, the vast majority of those losses are as a gas, that it goes back into the atmosphere, which the atmosphere is 78% nitrogen gas, along with some that gets carried away through water running through the soil and taking it out of the root zone. In the worst of cases, where just everything's gone wrong, the application rate was way too high, there was the wrong amount of moisture present, there was maybe the wrong application method for that situation, 90% of that nitrogen could go back into the atmosphere as a gas, which is a horrible result. For you just lost 90% of what you spent your money on. I'm not saying that's all the time, not by a long way, but it is quite common to lose up to 50%. So if you can transform the nitrogen that's gone in, which is usually, especially where it's being lost, a mineralized form, a chemical form, which is readily reactive. And so I was trying to avoid saying water soluble there, because that's not the point as such. It's that it can very quickly change its chemistry. So on one side, that's good. If you can convert that into an organic molecule, then it's either in the plant, it's converting it into an organic molecule, or microbes in the soil have done something with it that stores it in an organic molecule in the soil, which is then going to be slowly released to the plant, which is a way better outcome than it just sitting there still in a reactive form, because if it overloads the soil, you're going to lose some as ammonia. If it's not used quickly enough, it can be lost by several other gases that I won't go into right now, because he didn't sign up for this answer necessarily. You can ask it again another time. If we can tie up those things into organic molecules as quickly as possible, then it's not going to be at risk of being lost as a gas. So in some circumstances, that means that you could reduce by up to 90%. It's quite common, much more common, to be able to do up to 50%. And you can't just, well, I can't sit here and say exactly how much that's going to be. It's a suck it and see sort of thing. It's like, okay, we're seeing some of the results that Carbon Boost says it's going to do. Let's play with the fertilizer rate. Let's put some rates at different levels and see what the response is. If I cut it by 90% and I can't tell the difference from where I used 100%, then you can bring it down a lot. If it's huge changes, then you try and find the spot that's going to suit your outcome that you really want versus the amount of money that you want to spend. With phosphorus, so I'll just do nitrogen and phosphorus, it's lost in a different way. It doesn't get lost as a gas, although if it does, you better run for the hills, because it's phosphine gas and it's incredibly toxic. Doesn't happen in the soil. The way that it is lost to a plant, it's not lost, it's lost to a plant, is that it's locked up in the soil or it's been applied to the surface, it's bound onto some organic matter in the top layer of soil, and then you get a heavy rainfall event that carries some of that away. So a lot can be lost that way, especially for surface applications. And when it gets into the soil, if there's a high clay content to the soil and low organic matter, then it tends to get really strongly bound onto clay particles. And so it's still there, but a normal plant can't access it. And so there's two ways there that we can increase efficiency. We can stop any phosphorus getting lost from the very top of the soil, and we can stop it getting locked up. So in other answers, I talked about increasing the infiltration rate of how fast rainfall can get into the soil. If it's very fast, that means that even in the heaviest of storms, all the water goes into the soil and you don't have runoff, which is a great thing for the amount of water you have, but it also means that you don't have erosion. Erosion's bad for all sorts of reasons. One of the reasons is that it carries away your phosphorus and other nutrients too. So if more water goes in, then instead of running off, then less phosphorus gets lost at the surface. And then when it's in the soil, when it's really tightly bound onto a clay molecule, and I'm looking for something to be phosphorus, and in this case, it's going to be a baby elephant. So you got a clay particle and phosphorus elephant locked onto it. It's normally really tightly held on there. You got like, should be 4 fingers because that's closer to the bond. Plants can on trying to get that and use baby elephant and use it. Can't get hold of it. It's being held too tight. So this can be changed either through microbial activity. If there's a lot of bacterial activity of certain types, or particularly mycorrhizal fungi. Mycorrhizal fungi comes along and lifts these off until it can take it away. It's got special acids and other compounds that it can use to break that bond and carry it off to the plant. There's certain types of bacteria that can release it, and then it'll just be floating there. And then it's hoping that something, a plant root's going to find it there, or mycorrhizal fungi will find it, take it away. So you can have tools for releasing it. It's still at risk of going straight back on then. Or if there's a really healthy soil forming, then it's going to be forming humus. As part of that, it's producing humic acids and other related compounds, and they can get in the middle. So you can have, props are fun, this phosphorus stuck on there really tight. It comes along, so humic acid or things like that, puts itself in between there. So now it's tightly bound on. And then the little elephant is just sitting in there loosely. So a plant can come along and yoink, take it away and use it. And then the next time the phosphorus comes along, it's going to get held there, so it's not getting lost by being carried around the water, and the plant can easily get it. So between those two effects and several others that are needless detail, you can significantly reduce the amount of phosphorus that gets locked up, and you can also make use of the store that's there, which some people call that mining phosphorus. And yes, it is, but using that resource isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you can never have to think about putting phosphorus on ever again necessarily in grazing systems and things like that, but it does mean that you don't need as much and you can get access to other stuff that's been lost in the past. In cropping, regularly seen, especially with other uses of compost, that you can cut by 50% phosphorus and get the same plant concentration of phosphorus and the same total growth. So yeah, that's the thing, is increasing fertilizer use efficiency is predominantly about reducing loss. And when you're using carbon boost, the increase in microbial activity and the way that the plant roots explore more and the outcomes that come from that generally eliminate a large proportion of those losses, which means you can reduce your fertilizer amount that you use, whether it's an organic form or an inorganic form. It doesn't really matter which. But it is up to you to experiment to see what is the sweet spot between reducing inputs and still getting your target outcomes.